You have to go all the way back to 2009 to find the last time the UK had boots on the ground in Iraq. This ceremony in Basra marked the official end of Britain's 6-year military mission in the country. Today, the Prime Minister was stressing that although UK intervention in Iraq is gradually increasing, there won't be a return to combat.
When I say we're not going to have boots on the ground, I mean we're not going to be taking up some combat role. We're not going to see the deployment of the British Army to Iraq. But with our allies, should we be working to put pressure on ISIL and to make sure we keep our country safe here at home? Yes, of course we should.
So far, the UK's role has been largely about aid, with several nighttime drops by the RAF. But now the Defence Secretary says Britain's involvement is now much more than humanitarian. Michael Fallon says the UK will help combat terrorism and stop the advance of extremism. Some are now calling for greater clarity.
Beyond the headlines, what we need from the Prime Minister is a clear sense of his thinking as to how the international community can effectively respond to the challenges of the region.
So what is the UK's military commitment so far? For the last week, RAF Hercules transport planes have been dropping emergency aid. Tornado jets have identified safe places for the drops. 4 Chinook helicopters are on standby in Cyprus, though the airlifting of refugees is now less likely. Surveillance is also being carried out. Rivet Joint aircraft are now being used to help the US military identify potential IS targets.
I think Cameron's in a very difficult position. He wants to get the UK engaged with the Iraq crisis. He understands ISIS is a threat to Europe, but he can't get ahead of the Americans, who are also limiting their airstrikes to the northern parts of Iraq, around the Kurdish areas, around Mosul, for humanitarian purposes. They're not taking on a big campaign against ISIS just yet. And Cameron also can't get ahead of British public opinion.
But could the UK ever feasibly join in? No, says the Foreign Secretary.
We have no plans at the moment to engage in airstrikes, but we will look, if we're requested to do so, at providing weapons and other technical support to the Kurdish forces.
The residents of this Kurdish town have now returned after Peshmerga fighters retook it from Islamic State militants. But there's no sign of a wider resolution in this conflict.